We've been looking at the moon for thousands of years. Poets wrote about it, explorers reached for it, but no one ever imagined that beneath its dusty surface might be the key to ultimate global power. Until now. Because while the rest of the world looked toward Mars, China went silent, and on the far side of the moon, a place no human has ever seen with their own eyes, they found something that changes everything. Not just rock, not just history, but power. Real, physical, world-changing power. Let me explain. First, you need to understand something most people don't realize. We've only ever seen one side of the moon. The side that faces Earth is familiar, grey, cratered, lifeless. But the other side, the dark side, it's invisible, it's unexplored, and until recently, it was untouched. Then in 2019, that changed forever. China's Chang A4 mission became the first spacecraft in human history to land on the far side of the moon. This wasn't just a flex, it was a calculated move, a silent operation deep into the unknown. And the target was no random location. China landed in the von Karman crater, a vast scar on the lunar surface carved by an ancient cataclysmic impact that occurred billions of years ago. And what they found inside that crater was unexpected. Their rover didn't just collect surface dust like others had before. It uncovered material from the moon's mantle, rock from deep beneath the crust, material that had never been touched by human hands. Until now. Let me repeat that. They accessed the moon's interior. This isn't just about geology. It's about unlocking the moon's secrets, its timeline, its temperature, its potential. And that alone would be historic, but the story only gets more intense. You see, scientists had long believed the moon was dead, geologically inactive, lifeless. But the rocks brought back from the Chang A4 mission, they told a completely different story. They were young, too young. They showed signs of volcanic activity from just 2.8 billion years ago. Now, that might sound ancient, but in geological terms that's recent, disturbingly recent. That means the moon wasn't just a cold satellite, it was alive. And it may have remained geologically active far longer than anyone believed. That completely rewrites what we thought we knew about the moon's internal heat, its tectonics, and, more importantly, its potential. Because a moon that stays active is a moon that might still contain energy. And energy means opportunity, power, leverage. And that brings us to the next piece of this terrifying puzzle. In 2020, just 1 year after Chang A4, China launched another mission, Chang'e 5. This time the goal wasn't just exploration, it was extraction. The mission was to drill, collect and bring lunar soil back to Earth. And they did it, remotely, flawlessly. It was a robotic mission with perfect execution. No astronauts, no crew, just precision. When those samples were analyzed, scientists were stunned. Hidden within the lunar soil was something that looked like a tiny crystal, barely visible to the naked eye. But inside that crystal was something extraordinary. Helium-3. If you've never heard of Helium-3, you're not alone. But this one substance could change everything we know about energy. Because Helium-3 is a rare isotope, a type of atomic fuel that could unlock the future of power itself. We're not talking about nuclear fission like we use today. We're talking about fusion. The same process that powers the sun. Controlled fusion with Helium-3 could create a power source that's clean, safe, and nearly limitless. No radioactive waste, no meltdown risks, no carbon emissions, just pure energy. And here's the kicker. Helium-3 is nearly non-existent on Earth. But on the moon, it's everywhere. Over billions of years, the sun's solar wind has blasted the moon's surface, embedding Helium-3 in the lunar soil. And it's just sitting there, waiting for someone with the ambition and the capability to go and get it. And China? They're already doing it. They didn't just discover Helium-3, they confirmed it, they mapped it, and they're building the infrastructure to mine it. This isn't science fiction, this is real, this is happening, and the implications are terrifying. Because what else did China find in that lunar soil? Water, not lakes, not rivers, but microscopic water molecules trapped inside ancient moon rocks. That changes everything. Because water in space isn't just about thirst. It's not just for drinking or cleaning. It's survival. It's fuel. It's independence. Water, when split into hydrogen and oxygen, becomes something far more powerful. Oxygen to breathe, hydrogen to power rockets. And when combined again, it It creates thrust, literal fire in the void. This means something monumental. You no longer need to launch massive fuel tanks from Earth. You can fuel spacecraft directly on the Moon. It's a leap forward that rewrites the economics of space travel. Launching a single kilogram from Earth costs thousands of dollars, but from the Moon, where gravity is only 1/6 of Earth's, it's exponentially cheaper. And the water isn't just a theory. The Moon's south pole, specifically in craters that never see sunlight, contains vast sheets of frozen water ice. Scientists estimate millions of tons preserved in eternal darkness. China has zeroed in on these deposits. They've already begun mapping terrain near the South Pole, identifying potential landing zones for future missions. They're not guessing, they're targeting. Their next missions, Chang'e 6, 7 and 8, are already scheduled, and they're designed for one thing: building. The long-term goal? A robotic lunar research station on the South Pole by the early 2030s. This isn't science fiction, this is logistical planning in action, a blueprint for lunar occupation, piece by piece. Let's review what they've already done. Chang'e 1 and 2 mapped the lunar surface in detail. Chang'e 3 and 4 landed hardware and rovers. Chang A4 brought samples back to Earth. Chang'e 6-8 aimed to deploy infrastructure and test long-term operations. Each mission builds on the last with chilling precision. No delays, no live stream drama, no distractions, just momentum. This is space strategy at its most deliberate. An operation conducted in silence, while most of the world is distracted by headlines and politics. And now we get to something even more alarming. There's a treaty, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. It says that no country can own the Moon. Sounds fair, right? But the truth is, it's riddled with loopholes. You can't own the Moon, but you can build on it. You can claim rights to resources. You can operate exclusively in a zone. And once you're operating there, who's going to stop you? It's like saying no one owns the ocean, but if you build an oil rig, it's yours to use. And that's exactly what China is doing. They're building oil rigs on the Moon. Only these rigs don't drill for oil. They extract helium-3. They harvest water ice. They create launch sites, fuel depots, and research bases. Every landing, every rover, every data relay satellite they deploy, it's not about exploration, it's about occupation. And here's the part most people miss: they're not doing it alone. In 2021, China announced a formal partnership with Russia to co-develop the International Lunar Research Station. This isn't symbolic, it's a full-scale collaboration, complete with shared missions, engineering, and eventual construction. Together they plan to build a multi-phase, long-term lunar base focused on mining, deep space exploration, and, eventually, crewed operations. Meanwhile, back in the United States, NASA's Artemis program is bogged down in delays and budget overruns. Its goal is ambitious, returning astronauts to the Moon. But launches have slipped, hardware is still being tested, and political infighting slows progress. It's not a race anymore, it's a quiet sprint, and China is already halfway down the track. They're not trying to beat the US, they're trying to outlast them, to make Earth's Moon a foundation for something bigger. This isn't about planting flags or making speeches. It's about having a launch pad to Mars, a command center above Earth, a solar-powered fuel station in space, and all the while, the world barely notices. And by the time we realize what's happened, China may already be too far ahead to catch. So here's the nightmare scenario. What happens when China begins exporting helium-3 from the Moon? When they offer clean fusion energy to countries desperate to ditch fossil fuels? What happens when they control the only gas station in space? What happens when they launch cargo from the Moon, faster and cheaper than anything launched from Earth? Or when they establish a command center on the Moon's surface, with the ability to monitor, coordinate, or even interfere with Earth orbit satellites? Sounds like science fiction. It's not. It's logistics. And it's happening. Because in war, in energy, in industry, whoever controls the high ground wins. And in this new space race, the moon is the ultimate high ground. It's not just a platform, it's a gate, a launching point to Mars, to the asteroid belt, to deeper space. If you can extract resources there, build infrastructure there, launch from there, you rewrite the rules of who dominates space. And dominance in space, it bleeds directly into power back on Earth. Imagine a lunar base that provides unlimited clean power, that can send autonomous drones or satellites anywhere in Earth orbit, that can relay data, scramble signals, or even control the timing of planetary scale operations. And what if only one nation has it? What happens to the balance of power then? Now let's not forget, China has already proven that it can operate in secrecy, develop new technologies without leaks, and reveal its achievements only after success. That means there could already be infrastructure in development that we simply don't know about yet. Their deep space tracking network, it's expanding. Their heavy lift rockets, already tested. Their lunar landers and return vehicles, operational. So if you're wondering whether they'll actually mine Helium-3, they're already preparing. If you're wondering whether they'll actually build a base, they've already chosen where. If you're wondering whether they'll militarize space, just ask yourself this. If you had access to the moon's resources, its fuel, its launch advantage, would you share it? Because make no mistake, the moon is no longer neutral territory. It's a chessboard, and China is already 5 moves ahead. They didn't just land on the dark side of the moon, they lit a fire there, a strategic fire. And the terrifying part? They're the only ones warming their hands by it. So the next time you look up at the moon, don't think of craters or romance or astronauts. Think of power. Think of silence. Think of what's being built while the world sleeps. Because what China found up there wasn't just science, it was leverage. And that should terrify the world.